The ghost army that fooled Hitler. The secret unit that won without fighting. The battlefield stretched across northern France, scarred by months of relentless fighting. Allied commanders knew the next offensive could decide the fate of Western Europe. But there was one problem. The German army was waiting. Thousands of experienced soldiers stood behind fortified defenses, ready to crush any Allied advance the moment it began. If the Germans discovered where the real attack was coming, thousands of American lives could be lost in a matter of hours. So the United States turned to an army unlike any the world had ever seen. An army made of artists, painters, actors, architects, sound engineers, men whose greatest weapons were rubber tanks, fake radio messages, and imagination. History would remember them by one name: the Ghost Army. By the summer of 1944, just weeks after the Allied landings in Normandy, the war had entered a new phase. American troops were pushing deeper into occupied France, but every mile came at a terrible cost. German commanders still controlled powerful armored divisions capable of launching devastating counterattacks. Their reconnaissance aircraft constantly searched for signs of Allied troop movements, while experienced intelligence officers intercepted radio communications around the clock. Every real American division that moved toward the front risked exposing the next operation. General Dwight D. Eisenhower needed a solution that could confuse one of the most experienced armies in the world. The answer came from one of the strangest military units ever assembled. Officially, it was called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but almost no one knew it existed. Its mission was unlike anything ever attempted in modern warfare. Instead of destroying enemy forces, they would convince the Germans to fight an army that wasn't even there. The men selected for the unit were not chosen because they were expert marksmen. Many had studied at art schools in New York. Others worked as commercial illustrators, sculptors, advertising designers, radio technicians, or theater performers before the war. Some would later become famous artists, fashion designers, and filmmakers after returning home. But in 1944, their creativity became a military weapon. Their first assignment sounded almost unbelievable. They were ordered to create the illusion of an entire American armored division. Not hundreds of soldiers, thousands. Within hours, trucks unloaded dozens of inflatable Sherman tanks, inflatable artillery, inflatable anti-aircraft guns, even inflatable military trucks. From several thousand feet in the air, German reconnaissance pilots could hardly tell the difference. Entire camps appeared overnight. Rows of vehicles stretched across open fields. Canvas tents filled the countryside. Supply depots seemed to materialize from nowhere. To enemy aircraft, everything looked authentic. But the deception didn't stop there. The Ghost Army understood that real armies made noise. An empty battlefield would immediately raise suspicion. So military sound engineers recorded actual American tanks, trucks, bulldozers, marching troops, and bridge construction. Using enormous loudspeakers mounted on armored vehicles, they projected those sounds across the countryside. The recordings could travel more than 15 miles under the right weather conditions. German soldiers listening from distant positions believed entire armored columns were approaching. Even at night, they could hear engines starting, tracks grinding across roads, men shouting orders, heavy equipment moving into position. None of it was real. Radio operators played another crucial role. Instead of remaining silent, they flooded the airwaves with carefully crafted radio traffic. Every operator copied the unique communication style of real American divisions. They even mimicked the personal habits of individual radio operators. German intelligence officers intercepted the messages and carefully mapped troop movements. Every report pointed to the same conclusion. A massive American force was assembling nearby. Exactly as planned. The deception became even more convincing when the soldiers themselves entered nearby towns. They wore the insignia of famous combat divisions. They casually spoke with civilians. They asked for directions. They complained about long marches. They joked about the upcoming offensive. Word spread quickly. Local residents unknowingly passed the information to resistance networks. Some information eventually reached German intelligence. Everything reinforced the illusion. Again, exactly as planned. One of the Ghost Army's most important operations took place as Allied forces prepared to cross the Rhine River in March 1945. The Rhine represented Germany's last major natural defensive barrier in the West. Every bridge crossing would be heavily